What's good, y'all? My name is Lucky Moronge, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Right now, as you can see, I am outside, and right now I am at Haha Tonka State Park, which is in the Lake of the Ozarks in southern Missouri. And ironically, today I'm going to be kicking off my series titled Fishers of Men. What's Fishers of Men? What does that mean? Well, I have the perfect explanation for you guys, all right? But this series is basically going to be a series about bringing individuals closer to Christ through relaying messages throughout the Bible. We're going to be applying these lessons that we learn in these Bible stories to our daily lives and our walks being a Christian. Today, we're going to be reading from my favorite passage in the Bible, which is Mark chapter 1, verse 16 through 18. I enjoy this passage a lot simply because it offers so much substance within how to walk our daily lives as Christians. And you might be wondering what I'm doing. And right now, I'm going fishing. I'm enjoying my time off and fishing in the Ozarks. The title of today's message is going to be Complacency Kills Purpose. And as we read Mark chapter 1, verse 16, it goes, "And as he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen." So verse 16 is kind of giving us a little context on who Andrew and Simon both are. And what the Bible is telling us is that these two guys, they're just fishermen. That's all they're telling us. Even when you look at a map and see where Galilee is, you can see that it's a town located right on the Sea of Galilee. Towns like these put a lot of emphasis on fishing. It's just another way of life for these people. Whether it's by eating them, whether it's by selling them, fish are just a huge part of their economy. Simon and Andrew both had a script written out for their life. First they're born, then they grow up, they learn to fish, they work as a fisher, they live as a fisher, and then they die as a fisher. And what that tells us as readers is that this lifestyle is just very, very comfortable and very, very secure in their society that they live in. But the main problem is there's not a lot of growth outside of being a fisher. And although the society around them would have accepted them for being a fisher, and it would have just been the norm for them, let's look at what Jesus Christ says to these men. Verse 17 says, "Then Jesus said to them, 'Follow me and I will make you become fishers of men.'" This verse is kind of where the story shakes up a ton. And to think about it, we're only 2 verses in. Jesus comes in and changes the lives of these 2 individuals. And he did these things not by what he does, but mostly by what he says. Jesus used what they were so accustomed to in their daily lives, and he enticed them and pulled them in, making them have intrigue in the things that he has to say. Not only did the offer have the opportunity to change both Simon and Andrew's life, but to change the lives of as many people as possible. These random fishermen were given a glimpse of their potential. And this is some potential that they probably would never have even dreamed about having. And although this is a life-altering opportunity, you have to look at it from a different lens. They just got asked to drop everything that they know, everything that made them comfortable, everything that gave them security. And the biggest piece, everything that shaped who they were. But Jesus didn't really force them or coerce them into a decision to make. He didn't beg, he didn't plead, and for sure he didn't chase them. And here are the 2 options that these 2 men could have picked. Option number 1, ignore Jesus and stay where they're at. Or option 2, follow Jesus and jump into their calling. Verse 18 says, "They immediately left their nets and followed him." As you can see, they chose option number 2, which is to jump into the calling that Jesus had in their lives. But I want to look a little bit deeper into this verse because I had a big revelation when I read this for the first time months ago. The big revelation that I wanted to talk about was the fact that these 2 individuals, both Simon and Andrew, left their nets. And obviously, they left their nets because they're not going to be fishing for fish anymore. But I do believe everything is said in the Bible for a reason. And everything in the Bible is God-breathed. When we look at the definition of a net, it says, it's a device or enclosure designed to catch and retain animals, typically by allowing entry but not exit. The way that a fishing net works is, it offers a big entry point, but doesn't allow anything to leave through the backside of it. The threading and the netting are so thin that a lot of the times the fish can't even see them. And whatever fish is bigger than the meshes of the net gets trapped inside of it. There's no way out of it. It limits the fish to the confines of how much space the net provides. And the crazy thing is, the same nets that Simon and Andrew were both trapping their fish in were the same nets that were trapping them outside of their purpose. A lot of the times we get held back by our nets. We find ourselves being complacent and comfortable inside of the nets that we're trapped in. Whether it's the next person to sleep with, the next party to go to, the next blunt to spark up, or even the toxic relationship that we're in. But these things only distract you from the bigger problem. You are still trapped. Just like Simon and Andrew, we're living our lives not knowing the potential that we have when we trust in Jesus Christ. But I come to tell you now that Jesus Christ sets you free of these blocks, limitations, and restrictions. Simon and Andrew's course of action wasn't to drop their nets and go say bye to their family members, go say bye to their friends, all that. No, they immediately dropped their nets and followed Jesus. They kissed their old life goodbye, their previous identity, the things that they were used to, the things that they loved, in order to follow Jesus in discipleship. When we read Luke chapter 14, verse 33, it says, "So likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciple." I was that person that chose option number one. I ignored God's calling on my life simply because I'm a youth, I'm too young to be doing that. I have so much time to be able to do whatever I want to do in this daily life. I said I followed Christ, but I didn't follow any of the things that he taught or any things that he told us to do as a Christian. So simply put, I myself was a hypocrite. But a year ago today, I decided to jump into the unknown and answer the calling that God had placed on my life. I jumped in trusting that God had something better in store for me. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this past year, I've learned more about myself than I did in the 21 years prior. But people don't really tell you how difficult it really is. They don't tell you about how lonely it gets. They don't tell you about the shame that you feel when you sin. They don't even tell you about the misidentification that you receive when people keep on reminding you about things that you used to do. Or that's the only way that they recognize you. And even the failures along the way when you're not aligned with God's will. And throughout the whole process of uncertainty in my life, a verse that stuck out to me was Proverbs 8, verse 17. And it says, "I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently will find me." Not only did this aid me in continuing to seek God and follow Christ, it also gave me a renewed confidence in the things that God had in store for my life. For a while, I still had these nets I was holding on to. And at this point, it was hindering my walk and stunting my growth in Christ. But the type of fishing that Jesus Christ wants us to do does not require any nets at all. So I decided to let go. The vices, the toxic self-talk, the doubt, the fear of failure, the fear of not being secure, and the fear of even what other people thought about me. And I did these things in order to fulfill the purpose that God has placed on my life. And a year later, I have found so much more fulfillment walking on the narrow path because it leads to everlasting life. A year ago, me making YouTube videos talking about God would have been the last thing on my mind. But that just goes to show that everything that God has in your life is meant to be good. It's just our job to trust in Him. To wrap up this episode, I want to put emphasis on this point. There is limitless potential to our lives when we decide to drop our nets and follow Jesus Christ and the purpose that He has set out for our lives, regardless of where it takes us. But what we must realize is complacency does not allow space for any blessings, opportunities, or even any growth. Another verse I want to leave you guys with is John chapter 15, verse 16. And it says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, He may give you." This goes to show that God gives us the invitation to follow Him. And by us accepting these callings, we're going to find more purpose in the life that we live. We could continue to have a lasting impact on the world, not by how much money we make, or the career that we have, or the level of education that we reach, but by sharing the good news to all those people that are around us. And not only by telling them, but by our actions too. Hey y'all, thank you so much for watching the first installment of the Fishers of Men series. This is something that I've been planning out for about 3-4 months now, and I'm so glad that I'm able to share the bread of life with you guys. The next episode that I'm going to have is going to be titled, "A Church in a Marketplace." Continue standing firm in your walk with Christ. Thank y'all. Peace out.